Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. It is the 27th of March, almost May. Still a little chilly, lots of rain.
Wait, it's the 27th of April.
April, sorry. After COVID, I don't know what time it is, I gotta say. Thank you, Katheryn. Hello, I am your mixed up host, Carl Hawkinson. I'm with the University of Minnesota Extension in Hennepin County and coordinator of the Twin Cities Metro Growers Network. And today we're going to be talking tools. And briefly, the Growers Network is to network, which Mr. COVID has made more of a challenge, but Zoom and other outlets have helped out. So hopefully by this fall, maybe we can have some in-person sessions. But the whole idea was informal, informative learning, peer-to-peer learning, and really having people get together and learn together about all things gardening and growing in the Metro. It's kind of soup to nuts, but community gardeners, school gardens, market gardeners, backyard gardeners, we could all do better by learning horticultural skills and getting better at what we do. So that's basically what it's all about. And I partner with the Sustainable Farming Association of Minnesota, a great organization, and Katie's here to help me with that. Katie, you want to say a few words about SFA?
Yeah. So I'm Katie. I'm the communications director for Sustainable Farming Association, and SFA does pretty much exactly what this group does, which is we work to spread regenerative, sustainable practices by farmer to farmer networking and connecting people, providing educational opportunities, and our goal is to spread these practices that build resilience in our economies, in our environment, and in our communities too. So this is a networking group within SFA. We have about 10, I think, different regional chapters across the state, and they're all kind of a good mix of growers of all kinds and all backgrounds. So yeah, we're great. We're glad to partner with Carl here. These are a lot of fun.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah.
And of course, as you know, with Zoom, put your ideas in the chat or your questions, and we hopefully get to them. Pretty small group here, so we should be able to go right along here. And so tools, of course, are super important for gardeners, and I think it's maybe one thing that, I don't know, taken for granted, but there's a lot to know about tools. And so why don't we, before we jump into the different program, since we're such a small group, why don't we go around with just brief introductions. Katheryn, you want to say hello?
Sure. My name is Katheryn Schneider, and I'm with the Minnesota Tool Library, and I also organize the Rice Street Gardens, which is it's by Rice and Larpenter.
Excellent. Katheryn's going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Tool Library. And we have Tim Wilson, a colleague of mine with the University of Minnesota. Tim's out at the Arboretum. Tim?
Hi, thanks, Carl. I'm Tim Wilson. I'm the farm education manager at the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum, and running a apprenticeship program for the second year, just focusing on training people how to grow food for community food systems, whether that's for a lot of the same venues that everyone else is working on, but also for donation and for farmers markets and wholesale as well too.
Excellent. And Adriana, we haven't met. Hello.
Hey, I'm Adriana Salce. I am a Minnesota Green Corps member serving Minneapolis in solid waste and recycling with Kelly Kish, who will introduce herself in a minute here. And what I work on throughout my service here is a lot of residential outreach and education on various waste-related topics from, recycling, composting, waste reduction, and reuse type efforts. So I'm excited to be here, and I'll talk a little bit about our upcoming garden tool swap event starting in beginning May here. So I'll go over that a little later, I think. So
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And I think that's really exciting. Kelly, hello.
Sorry, on mute. Kelly Kish, I am the recycling coordinator for the city of Minneapolis. And as Adriana mentioned, we're really excited. It's our first official swap event. So yeah, more to come on that. I should say I also serve on the board of the Minnesota Composting Council. And most of you were already on, but International Compost Awareness Week starts on Sunday. The MNCC is holding an event over at the Urban Growler on Sunday, May 8th, which is actually the same day as the city's garden tool swap events. But I posted the flyer for that event in the chat feature there. So please come join us there as well.
I think if it's at the Urban Growler, they're probably, get more attendees than the other event. Thank you. That's great. Let's see. Melissa Trent. Hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm here. I'm just potting up plants. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Trent. I'm a farmer with Pillsbury United Communities. So we've got 4 urban farms, and they each kind of have a different niche, but essentially we grow a variety of vegetables without pesticides and sustainably. And we do a little bit of youth education, sell locally, and we have a few small CSAs for our neighborhood.
Great. And we'll be hearing from you live out in the garden.
That's the plan.
And let's just keep going around. Hello, Richard.
Find the mute button. I'm Richard Fish. I live in South Minneapolis. I got involved I'm on the Sierra Club's water. Now they changed it. It's basically a committee that looks after water issues in the state of Minnesota. And I got involved. I'm kind of the ag representative for that. So I've been getting involved in all these different things. I do have a background in agriculture, so that's kind of how I got into it to begin with. I'm an avid gardener, though. I'd say 2/3 of my yard is gardens. And,
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much. And let's see, where do we go next? Stephanie, hello.
Hello, everybody. It's great to see folks. I'm Steph Hankerson. I garden and do garden education in the Twin Cities. Presently working with watersheds, the Hort Society, St. Paul Rec Centers, doing a seed distribution, fun stuff like that. And I'm going to put in the chat a flyer about MinSeed, which is a project that's going to support gardeners' activities and seed saving of native plants. So if you have spots in your growing spaces that have natives and pollinators, this is an activity that can support that, or please share with other gardeners as well. The first workshop will be on May 11th, and the poster has a link. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you. And yeah, please, anybody post any activities, whatever. Stephanie and I are also hatching a project this summer using shredded cardboard. We're going to experiment with using that for mulch and compost stock. And there's a company that makes clean cardboard shredded product for animal bedding. We're going to see if we can use that for gardens. Let's see. Who am I? Molly, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, everyone. My name is Molly O'Mara. I'm a nurse by trade, but I farm, I guess, most of my yard. So I grow a lot of fruits and vegetables, working on more perennials and a little section of pollinator kind of native habitat too. So I have like enough space that I need to be smart about my energy output. So I'm excited to learn about tools, and maybe they can help my work be more efficient. I'm kind of in that middle ground where like I could just do things by hand and not be efficient. But I have enough that I've, tackled that it'd be nice to have some tools that might make things easier. Anyways, good to see everybody. And yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's a great point. And that's what good tools is all about. Melissa says the middle ground is a tricky place to be. Yeah. And, you want the right tool for the right job, so to say, but that's an excellent point. Let's see, Steve. Hello, Steve.
My name is Steve Dreyer, and I'm a member of the Ventura Village Neighborhood Association in South Minneapolis, right in the Franklin, Chicago area. And for 10 years now, we're part of several different groups, the 24th Street Coalition, and we partner with Pillsbury United and White House on some projects. And we maintain a tool library to be used by them and also by individuals in our neighborhood. So we try to encourage people, many times it's people who are renters or live in high rises, to get involved in gardening where they can.
Excellent. I see. Go ahead.
We have a budget from the city, so we buy tools like sod kickers and tree pullers and things like that to be used by individuals and by groups.
And how would people find out about that?
We have a email list. We publish a page in a neighborhood newspaper, The Alley, where we list the tools that we have, and we advertise people to give us a call, and we'll try and take care of them.
Okay, excellent. If you could, Melissa, do you know about that sources where people can find out about that?
Yeah, I'll just put my email and phone number in the chat, and then if folks in the Phillips neighborhood or South Side community are interested, I can put them in touch with Steve via email or phone.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. And that was Steve Dreyer we just heard from, right? Because I see two. Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Well, this is great, and this is recorded, so we can share this information, even though there isn't a lot of people on board today. But Katheryn, let's hop back to you and hear a little bit perhaps about your tool involvement with your big community garden there, and then the Minnesota Tool Library.
Sure. So I'm a board member of the Minnesota Tool Library. And like I said, I organized about 5 years ago a 2-acre community garden on Rice Street, just a little north of Larpenteur. And we have we have 250 gardens that are 16 by 18. We charge $20 for the year there. We're right next to McCarran's Pub, and they let us use their water. And we have a lot of people that live in apartments and recent immigrants. Nepali, Karen, and Hmong are the majority of the gardeners. And the unfortunate thing is that a developer just bought the land, and so it will probably be going away. We get to garden this year and probably next year, but we're not positive. So I'm actually working with some young people to try to find gardening space for the people, and then also just to let them know what's happening and try to see, you know, it's their neighborhood. So just making sure that they have a say in what's happening. So that's the Rice Street Gardens. And we do have a website.
I posted it up there.
Great, thank you. And so the main reason I'm here is I'm representing the Minnesota Tool Library. I'm a board member as well as a member and a co-founder of the State Hall Library, and a gardener. So we have all sorts of tools at the Tool Library. We have so the Tool Library is a membership-based nonprofit. So our standard membership is $120 a year, $10 a month, which gives you access to all of our tools. You can take them out for a week at a time or up to 3 weeks. We have wheelbarrows, all sorts of gardening tools. And I'll be showing you one specific one here in a little bit, the weed wrench, for pulling out buckthorn and other small trees. But we also we teach classes, and sometimes we teach classes in like building garden beds, or I want to have a fix-it clinic for tools where you could bring your broken tool in, like a shovel or with the new handle, and we can help you put it in, or a wheelbarrow with a flat tire, and we can help you put that in. Sharpening tools, like sharpening your shovels and and things like that. So we have some people that are willing to teach it, and we are starting to go back to classes, but we probably won't have a class like that until maybe the 1st of June. So, so far there, we do have another membership level at $55 a year. That's for people that, it gives you access to the whole library. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you about was we also have, thousands of tools, and our website, mntoolllibrary.org, has all of our inventory online. So you can check out our inventory online. And we also have a full workshop. And we have 2 branches, one in Northeast Minneapolis and one in St. Paul, near Can Wonderland, right off of Pryor Avenue. And we have, what was I going to say? Oh, both workshops have a full workshop in it with a table saw, drill press, bandsaw, lathe. So, and we teach classes. So cutting board classes are one of our most popular classes, and we are going to be starting those up in May. So, and I don't know if you guys heard about what we did over in December. We built 600 desks for St. Paul students that are studying at home due to COVID, and we were able to build 600 desks. So we were pretty proud of that. So yeah, and we still have a few left. So if you know of anybody that needs a desk, there are a couple at St. Paul and a few, and even more at Northeast. So.
Wow, that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, a lot of these tools aren't garden tools specifically, but you're going to be able to raise bed or make a fence or do something, you need some tools. So
Exactly.
farming and gardening has a lot more to do than, the actual tools in the garden.
Gardening tools, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of different tools.
Do they have things like, I don't know, wheelbarrows and?
We have 5 wheelbarrows, and that's another thing. Well, even if you have your own, but maybe if you have a large project that you're doing either with your community or with your, or just in your own yard, we have multiples of all of our tools. And so it's a really good way to, have other people help you get tools from the library, and you'll have multiples. Even like cement work projects, we have tools for cement work.
You might even need them once, but it's not worth buying all of them.
Right.
And are the events listed on the webpage somewhere?
Yeah, we have a calendar where we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to find it, and our Facebook page too.
So,
but
Katheryn,
we have a calendar that has the events.
Okay, and are these going to be live?
Oh yes, the cutting board classes are all live.
In person?
In person. I think we're only allowing 4 people in the library for those. Normally it's 6 to 8.
Okay.
But I think we're only going to have 4 people in there.
No, that's so great to get people to DIY, to do it themselves and figure it out. I think the hand-eye coordination skills are really important. So Katheryn, what's one of your favorite garden tools you can't live without?
So my favorite gardening tool is the weed wrench. And I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it's a great way to pull out saplings and other trees. And, if you just cut the tree down or mow it or whatever, it just is going to come right back. And this pulls it out from the root. And I actually have a little video that I can show of the weed wrench.
Okay.
Working. So, and actually this guy, Russ Henry with Giving Tree Gardens, is actually a Minnesotan. So,
I know Russ really well. We've worked together in the past.
So here I have one of my favorite tools for pulling small-sized trees out of the ground. It takes what would be a 2-hour job of digging. It turns it into 5 minutes.
Katheryn, you want to hit full screen there?
oh wait, do what?
Down here, and then this
hit full screen on the lower right.
Oh, I thought I did.
Come on in here.
There you go.
Take the plant section, and this big tree Down here, we're going to pull it out of the raspberry patch. I've been waiting for it to get big enough to make a good demonstration. Now, can you see clearly how we've got it clamp around the base of the tree? And as we pull back on the lever bars, see this big tree up there. As we pull back, I just put my foot down, crank it back, the lever bar comes back and the plant grabs the tree. And then down we go. Now, one. Let's take a couple falls. The tree. Yep. All right. Pretty simple, pretty quick. 1, 2, 3, tree out of the ground. So no more box elder in the raspberry patch, thanks to the weed wrench.
Excellent.
Okay, so now what do I do?
Go and hit stop share.
Oh, right there. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I have 2 of those. I have a great big one and a little one, and I use them for buckthorn control, and it's all about leverage. And 14-year-olds love to go at it with these things. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. And I've been out to the Rice Street. It's a big garden. The perennial problem of urban growers is permanent access to land. Let us know if we can help you find more. That's a lot of farmers, a lot of growers there. Let's see. Adriana, you want to go next and tell us about what to me sounds like really exciting tool share. Now, what are you calling it?
We're putting on Saturday, May 8th, 2021 of this year, the Minneapolis Garden Tool Swap, the first swap event that the city has ever done. A little brief introduction how we put this event together and how we came up with the idea. Back in the fall, November, we put out a survey for all Minneapolis residents to fill out, and it was really for our office at Solid Waste and Recycling to understand how COVID has impacted some of our residents' changes in terms of purchasing, reuse behavior, and disposal of a lot of different material types. And what we found from that survey is that, almost 70% of respondents out of 1,300 respondents said that they were much more aware of the waste that they're creating in their own home. And we saw a lot of positive interest in ways that residents can reduce their waste in their own home, and kind of thinking more of those waste reduction type techniques that our office, recycling and composting is important, but the ultimate goal is waste reduction. So Kelly and I were thinking of ways that we can offer residents more opportunities for waste reduction, and kind of connecting with St. Louis Park. They've had their gardeners swap for a couple of years. And talking with them, we decided we want to do something similar here in Minneapolis, since, gardening is big. There's a lot of people who are, been doing it for years, and new people who are just getting interested in it, that maybe they're at home more and they want to delve into, some creating their own food in their own backyards, etc. So kind of having these ideas in mind, we put together the Minneapolis Garden Tool Swap. And essentially what it is, on that May 8th date from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it's a 2-hour window for any resident to come and bring their unwanted but usable garden and yard equipment. So that could be things from pots and planters to hand tools to bird feeders, houses, as well as garden decor, really anything garden and yard related, bring them to one of 4 locations. And the 4 locations are Corcoran Park, MLK Park, Logan Park, and Falwell Park. So kind of, needed at least 4 locations, since Minneapolis is a much bigger place than St. Louis Park. So we're providing our residents 4 different locations so they can have ease of access. And so, it's really just, bring the unwanted tools. And then if you're a gardener, whether you're just starting or experienced green thumb and don't have some of the tools that you'd like, go to the nearest location and pick up any tools you want, bring them, take them home. That's the whole point. You know, we want to make sure that these items are staying within use and, you know, staying out of our waste stream and staying within the community. So that is that event. We're very excited for it. Like I mentioned, it's the first time Minneapolis is doing a type of swap event. So we're excited to see the participation we're getting, but we've got some really good feedback so far, and a lot of people seem very interested and excited for it. So,
and I'll add that we, for any unswapped items, we're going to try and get them to local community gardens, or Steve, if you want them for your library, or Katheryn, if there are things that you guys would accept, we'd be happy. Again, goal is to keep them in use, not thrown away. So we want to try and find them all new homes rather than end up in the trash.
Yeah, I was going to say that that's where most of our tools come from, our donations. So we do have a lot of gardening tools, but especially shovels and things. But yeah, we would probably accept some of the things.
That sounds really great. And there are a lot of tools laying around in garages and places. I know the house I bought, there was 3 shovels there. I don't need 3 shovels. I gave 2 away, but there's a lot of things floating around. Well, best of luck with that. That sounds really great. And we just, Kelly, I know your program's all about recycling and not wasting. And we all need to, that needs to be standard operating procedure instead of just throwing it away and getting a new one. So Kelly, Adriana, what's your favorite garden tool?
Well, right now, I really do like my hand tiller because I don't have a ton of space to garden, but I do have some raised beds, and, you know, getting out there in the spring, getting the tiller out, loosening it all up, throwing some compost in, letting it all get nicely mixed together is very helpful for me. And it's, you know, small and compact enough that I don't need a large space to store it. And I've already borrowed it out to several neighbors this year. So.
And what tool was that?
Just a hand tiller. It's a little claw turn twist guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that plug in or battery?
It is arm powered.
Oh, I see. The best kind.
Yes, exactly. Get a workout while you do it.
How about you, Adriana? You have any
yeah,
tools you can't live without?
Yeah, I haven't had my own garden space ever. So, you know, back when I was living at home, I would help my mom with her garden. And she didn't have like any fancy tools. She had trowels and all that, little hand shovels. But okay, I would say my favorite tool, I don't know if it counts as a tool, but sunscreen. I know I would have to be outside like de-weeding all the time, and loved not getting burnt and, you know, protecting myself from skin cancer. So sunscreen.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. That's a good one. Thank you so much. Let's see, where are we off tonight? Tim, how are you doing? And if you could maybe say a little more about your program out there, and then you have something to share about different hose.
Yep. So hello, everybody again, but just a little bit more about my program is just out at the Arboretum, but we work directly with our other program at the Arboretum called Growing Good, which is a 5-garden youth development program that are in St. Paul and Minneapolis. And so the program that I run is an adult program that's for people that are wanting to get a deeper dive into small scale agriculture, vegetable growing specifically, and then doing it at a market garden level. And that could be either for donation or for sale. And so certainly some of our work is urban, some of it's rural, some of it's suburban, but I can share just if anyone is interested in learning more.
I think I shared the PDF. Oh, no, you're going to screen share. Thanks.
Yeah, that's, I can put that in the chat as well too, just the link for this. But yeah, we accept applications throughout the year, but it's a 9-month program that starts every February and then runs February to October. It is based on some basic horticultural science in the beginning, but then focusing really on operating a small farm, and part of the middle part of the 9 months is a paid working experience. So you're paid to learn how to do local food production. So it's if anyone's interested. please let me know. I can put my email address in here as well too, if anyone wants to reach out or connect with me with someone that might be interested.
And Tim, it has kind of it really has a job career training kind of aspect to it, doesn't it?
It does. It's one of the big things that I'm a urban farmer by background, but one of the main things that we're seeing is there's a lot of really great interest in a lot of people that are wanting to grow food, but there's not really a direct connection to how do I get a job doing that, or how do I find a career in doing that without kind of throwing everything to the wind and diving into it on your own. So it's the goal of this is to have it's a steady paycheck while you're learning to do paid on the job training, and then we work with everybody to do some networking and find people jobs afterwards, because it sounds like many of you are all connected deeply in the garden world or the farm world, and it's also very hard to find people that are excited about working in food production, and then also that want to keep working in food production. So it's kind of hitting things on both ends of finding people that are excited about them, and then training for things that are applicable to working on a farm too. But yep, go ahead.
Excellent. And so hose, when people think of garden tools, I think that's the thing that comes to the top is weeding tools and hose. What do you know about hose, different hose, Tim?
Start off with a couple of different things that I like to use. Part of the farm at the Arb where the program is actually a demonstration farm or an interpretive farm. So if you wanted to come and see more of some different types of tools, we have a tool shed, a display tool shed that can show different things. This is a collinear hoe, which is not a fun word to say, but you can see how, I don't know if anyone's used something like this before. It's very, very thin. Really, it's just about surface cultivation, and you're really not even digging weeds out. You're just slicing them off at the surface. And the goal of this is to get something you can do weekly when the weeds themselves are no more than an inch or two tall. And so something that's quick and easy to use that, over the course of a garden bed, which might take you an hour to weed when the weeds are overgrown, this is something that'll take, less than a minute, and you can do it once a week, and the easier way to get things cut down.
So not for hacking away at quackgrass and stuff.
Right, and it's built. This one is from Johnny's. It's built thin primarily because it's easier to sharpen and things like that. But it's also to not encourage people hacking at stuff. I personally use one that's a little bit heavier duty, but another one that people might be more familiar with is a stirrup hoe or hula hoe. This gets a little bit deeper. This blade, though, is also a sharp blade that is really just about cutting things. If you get a little deeper with this, it does break up the soil more. When every time you go deeper, you bring up more weed seeds from the bottom. And so it's a great tool if you're kind of working on a new bed that you're kind of taking out an old crop of. The previous one, you can do that actually when the crop is up. And so like you might have tomato plants or beets or something like that, and you're using that small light hoe to just get the surface in and out of those crops that you already have up. Some other things that you may have seen as well too, little hoes or just handheld things. I'm not a fan of them personally because I don't like bending over, but they are amazing, especially if you're doing the same kind of things, especially in small spaces.
And maybe if you had a raised bed, they might work better.
Yeah, it depends. If it's amount of space, if you just have a short space, they can work pretty well. Even with short spaces, though, I do like to use bigger tools. It's personally, it takes me a while to get down on a knee and get back up. So I like using a handle. But one of the main things that I recommend for people with using hose is starting off with having marked beds. And so when I plant anything, I plant it out so that the whatever I'm going to be putting the hoe through is already kind of where I want it to be, so it's a little bit easier to use. So this is a landscaping rake you can get at Menards. I buy one that's 3 feet wide. You can get them at various widths. And then I buy little pieces of PEX plumbing tubing and just cut some lengths of it to extend the rake into the number of rows that I want in a bed. I'm going to use this just so that I can mark the beds and then plant everything in a row. And I know this is not new material for anybody and probably something people do already, but just pointing it out that if everything is straight and narrow, it makes it a lot easier to run one of those hoses through without having to be worried about hitting something. And then let me grab another one here.
That's similar to the broad fork. I just happen to have this sitting next to me. You get this broad fork and it comes with these little tubes. You can do the same thing.
Yep, the planting rake. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of dragging it through here. Yeah, and so just being able to drag it through like that.
Yep.
And when you get things in a row, and this is a radish bed that's been partly harvested already, and so it's this is a collinear hoe going through it. You can kind of still get things through the rows. These are at different levels of maturity, so it's kind of when I choose what kind of hoe to use, it's basically what I can fit in there efficiently. And so just thinking about that space of how much is there based on the size of the plant, using a different hoe, whether it's a smaller plant, you can get a different tool in there. If you're really just about ready to get harvest done, hopefully the leaves of the plant are actually covering up the soil, so you're not having weeds come through, but you do need something narrow and tight to get in there and get the weeds out that you want. This is a garden weasel. I don't know, has anyone used one of these before?
I have not.
I'm starting to use them, or I'm playing with them more really, but it's basically very much like an agricultural till there are many different types of weeders that people put on tractors, and the idea is that you could go a mile per hour and just drag something over something very efficiently. This has several tines in it that you can. There's 3 different settings there. You can have 3 of these little baskets, or 2 or 1. And what this is doing over that radish before it gets too big is that you can actually get those fingers to weed on either side of the radish without hurting the radish at the same time. It's kind of nice to kind of space out. Again, it's something that instead of having to go through, do everything by hand, if you can take a weed out when it's small and do it quickly. You're not having to fight larger plants or lose the number of radishes that you're going to get because you've been able to kind of run that through pretty easily. It's called a garden weasel. I got turned on to it just recently, but it does work pretty well.
It's I don't know if you can see that, but it's set at an angle.
Yep.
And,
it's 2 like fingers that go in and out and roll into themselves, kind of. Yeah.
And would you say, Tim, a lot of weed control is the weeds you don't see, the little weeds at the milk stage just starting to sprout?
Yep. And that's the best time to get them, when you don't see them, and you can just knock them off and not even, worry about if you got the roots or anything else. And I know, and myself included, all I really do is make sure that there's 3 hours on one day of the week that I can do just a basic, or sorry, 1 hour, one day a week that I can just do a basic sweep before I see anything just to get it done. And then I don't have a weed problem going further forward. And then got some of the same. That's the tine that can come out. They're just kind of like metal fingers that come together. And just that little bit of disruption and you're not doing it on the crop, can help take those other weeds out.
That's the other thing too, wouldn't you say, is a lot of times we're tilling and digging, we just stir up the soil too much and just expose more weed seeds, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so this is a stirrup hoe going through the soil. I just took a couple pictures. If you've got a more aggressive hoe, really all that you need to do, and if you're doing a new bed, this is a scuffle hoe. It's very sharp on all sides. If you can just cut cut the root rather than having to pull the whole thing out, then you're not turning over the soil, and there's not new weed seeds that are deeper in the soil coming up. And that's kind of choosing which hoe that you use. It's the more sharp, and I sharpen these all the time, and it's trying to get a razor. It's almost like having a knife in the field, that you're just cutting plants off so that you're not trying to eliminate the weeds. They're going to come no matter what, but slowing them down so that the crop can come up faster, and then not having to spend the time with bigger weeds and more disruption to the soil profile when you're pulling out larger stuff.
Yeah, you always want the crop to be bigger than the weed.
Yep.
If you can.
Mm-hmm. And it's, yeah, absolutely understand that it gets away. The parts that get away are always harder, but and I thought people, and so this kind of surface cultivation, it's really like it's hard to see here, but it's those little ones down there that I'm using a razor edge on. I don't know if people can see that better.
Yep.
Just those little itty bitty ones. If you can get them early on, those won't become a problem. It's just that hard part about getting to them. And the only way that I get to them is because I iron out, one section of my week just to do that once a week, so that it gets done.
And I'd like to add on to the keeping it sharp. Some of these tools, or all the holes, really become handy with a file, or find somebody that does. And maybe these DIY workshops, but it really helps to have them sharp. Otherwise, you're just pushing stuff around, and it's hard to work.
And then I won't be able to get too big on these, but there are some different ones that you can get. And just thinking too about how ergonomically how you like to work. This is the scuffle hoe, and it's sharp on all three sides, so you can kind of wiggle it around and get a lot of space done at once. It's got a certain angle to it, so based on how you like to work or walk, this is definitely like facing the ground, bent over to work with it. The collinear hoe has got a different angle to it, and that's so you can actually walk along the row with it behind you, and just kind of go down those paths that are where the crop isn't at the same time. And so it's kind of simple things that are the ergonomics. The more comfortable you are with it, the easier it's going to be on your body, and then also the quicker the work's going to get done. But you can see that's a pretty sharp blade.
Collineal is you're actually holding it almost straight up and down, right?
Yep. So it's almost like you're sweeping with a broom rather than hitting the ground with an implement. And that's sharp end on the or that flat end where that's kind of just a stick that's pretty much parallel to the ground when you're pulling it across. Then one last thing I thought just everyone would enjoy, if you haven't used a flame weeder before. And feel free to jump in if somebody's had some experience with these things before and wants to share some other ideas. This is a handheld one. Basically, as you can see, it's a grill propane tank. This dolly is made. You can buy them manufactured to hold all the different pieces of it. But always good to have a fire extinguisher with you. But then there's a little pocket here where you put the can of the flam weeder on, and then you just dolly it around to wherever you're weeding. And the goal of this is not to, a lot of people get very excited about these, about you can just burn things off of a fence or burn, get the big weeds that you don't want to bend over and pull. But this is also looking at just those very, very, very small weeds, and it's just enough heat to kind of melt them away before they become a problem. It's commonly used with carrots in industrial agriculture. Just you've tilled the bed, it's all clean, you plant your carrots. Carrots will take 3 weeks to get up. These little itty bitty weeds in the spring might come up first. And just when they're less than an inch tall, people pull these flame weeders over it to just heat up just above the soil enough so that those little weeds, the milk stage, they just melt away. You just have a flint, just like in science class. And it's again using, it's a new planting. It's not, it's a bare planting. I think I have a video. Yeah, so that, and really all that you're doing with it is creating enough heat. These are two weeds of the same thing. The one on the right has been treated with flame and the other one hasn't been. It's just kind of getting enough heat that the plant cells burst, and it's really green because all the chloroplasts have come out. So it's great thing to use for sidewalks and stuff like that. But then even in your garden bed, just a quick sweep with this works pretty quickly. So
Do you ever use that post planting, pre-emergence?
right. So yeah, the seeds of the carrots, for instance, are in the ground already. And then this is just the first before the weed seeds really pop up, and also pre-carrot. There's that kind of very narrow window that you can use it in. It and it's propane. It costs things. It's burning fossil fuels. It's definitely not something to rely on heavily, but it does have a specific use that can really save you a lot of time. Yeah. So. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. And if anybody's got any questions, please let me know.
I was going to say, different hose for different uses, right?
Mm-hmm.
At different times of the crop. And I know those stirrup hose come in different widths. When the crops are big, you can just boom right along and you're not worrying too much about taking out little teeny plants, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious about those traditional big V-shaped hose. Were those more for making furrows, or what were those all about? Do you know?
The triangle ones that I was showing, or the
no, not but the old style. You'd go to the hardware store, get a hoe. It was the triangle thing.
Oh, right.
Very traditional kind of hoe.
I think that some of it is kind of pinpoint, picking out the big things on the ground, kind of like that cobra head thing. But yeah, making furrows as well too, for where you want to direct seed. Yeah.
So Tim, what's your favorite garden tool? Can't do without.
I think I'm a big fan of push seeders. They just there's certain ones that you can use, some very inexpensive ones that are just for planting spinach and stuff like that, make the work a lot quicker and easier, even on a short bed or a raised bed. Yeah, they're pretty amazing. So an earthway seeder is probably one of my favorites. But
yeah, earthway, and then excellent. Well, let's see. That is fantastic. I love all your pictures. I have to share some of those with me. I've been trying to dream of like a tool educational library, not a tool library like we've been talking. That's great. Thanks, Tim. And the tulips blooming out there at the Arb?
They will be soon. Some of them are already starting to open. So it's, yeah, and the Arboretum is fully open. So feel free to come out.
If you haven't been there during tulip time, it'll blow your mind. It's unbelievable. There's more tulips of all varieties in profusion than you've ever seen. It's fantastic. And if you've never been to the Arb, period, it's just a great place to go. Melissa, tell us a little bit about Pillsbury United, what you do there, and then what you're going to show us.
Yeah. So I am, again, the farmer for Pillsbury United Communities. We've got 3 farms in the Phillips neighborhood of South Minneapolis, where we do some perennial gardening with native plants, as well as community gardening, trying to engage our neighborhood folks. And then we've got a backyard farm, we call it, where we focus on education with youth in different youth groups in the neighborhood. And then we've got another farm. We call it the Hoop House Farm. And that's one of our really productive sites, but we do a little bit of everything. We're starting to focus more on education, but we grow organically without the certification, just trying to always continue to learn, partner with other garden and youth organizations, and improve food access. We do a little bit on the north side and the south side, but we also sell our produce to the North Market grocery store in North Minneapolis. And if anyone's in that neighborhood, Wednesdays, they have half price produce. So it's a busy day for them, but really gives people an opportunity to afford produce if they normally couldn't. Yeah, so that's a little about us. I don't have a website. Our organization does, United Communities. But we do have an Instagram. I like to post photos, and I'm trying to continue to post more educational tools on there as well. So PUC.farms. So I'm outside, so I wasn't really planning for rain today. But anywho, so I'm gonna try to just show you the different tools. And I guess one of them is Tim's favorite tool and one of my new favorite tools. I'm gonna go inside, but I'll just show a quick video.
Okay.
So this is a Haas seeder. It was gifted to me by the previous farmer, but like Tim said, they're really handy to use. Small crop. Lever here that adjusts the depth at which it digs a furrow for you based on the size of your seed and how deep it needs to plant. So that's pretty nifty. You can just turn it so that this comes up and down, and there's measurements here that tell you how deep the seed will be planted. And then you've got these two discs here that dig the furrow for the seed while you're pushing the seeder along. So the wheel drives it. These discs dig the furrow for the seed. And then you've got this little turning disc here. It's got a few pieces. So you pour the seeds in. There's a few different sized discs for different type seeds. And it drops the seed down through that hole that's green. So it almost perfectly spaces them out based on your seed size. And then there's this little brush that pushes the seeds along and turns them so that they don't get stuck. Every once in a while, you have to pull this out. And it's not good to use in the rain.
And Melissa, what did you call that again?
This one is a Haas seeder.
Okay.
I'm not sure where it came from. It could be Johnny's. I didn't purchase it, so and it has no manual. So I haven't done research. Steve actually taught me how to use it. It's quite nifty though. So yeah, these discs dig the furrow as this drops the seed in and turns as you're moving the wheel. And then there's a chain that pulls behind it and covers the seed with soil. And then this back wheel will run over the soil and sort of tamp it down. So it's a pretty nifty tool. It's really easy to use once you figure out just the right size discs you need for the seed that you're using and the appropriate depths. It's good to use 2 people when you first are. It's really handy. It speeds the process probably 10 times. And then it's got a little kickstand here that you can pull down so that you can set the tool down when you're not using it. Do you know how much they are, Carl?
I think it said $379.99 for this.
Yeah.
Which is
that's
not too bad.
Yeah, they're an investment, but they're worth it.
Looks like it's well built.
Yeah, it is. As soon as I take it out of the rain.
Yeah.
Show you. This was actually generously donated by Carl and the U of M Extension. This is a broadfork. They're really, really handy for if you till your soil. Well, it doesn't technically till your soil, but it loosens the soil and aerates it. So you can, it's a pretty simple tool. I was going to demonstrate, but my camera person left. So, but essentially you throw the fork into the soil where you need it, where you're looking to loosen it. You hop on that green bar with your body weight and onto these, use your momentum to enforce. It's not too strenuous and it's really useful for aeration and preparing your soil without a tiller. Pretty sturdy. This one's from Johnny's. They do sell them at like more general hardware stores as well. But these are my 2 favorite tools. So I don't know if they come in many other sizes. I've seen them a bit wider and a little shorter, but they're typically about this size.
Melissa, there are different widths and sizes, and the one thing I've got one of those too, and they're not the most heavy duty. You can't be breaking solder or anything. They'll bend.
No, you
this
have
is
to,
this is for
yeah, you have
prepared
to,
beds.
right. Yeah, this isn't to remove weeds. This isn't, it's a really wonderful tool that I love.
Yeah.
I'm trying to flip my screen. Yeah, so I have a friend who's a welder who's experimenting with making them because they are around like $150+ and worth the investment, but a little spendy for a gardener or a small farmer. So I have a friend experimenting with making them because he's a welder, and you can buy the wooden handles for like $15 or less. So we're going to test those out this season if anyone's looking for an affordable and less professional broadfork.
Well, that's
Stay
great.
tuned.
My favorite two tools are the broadfork and then the bed prep rake. You know, you don't have to till up your whole garden if you just loosen it up and rake it smooth a little bit. I wanted to mention, I ordered a tool from New Zealand of all places called a forksta. It's kind of a combination broad fork and kind of a soil fork. I'll see if I can find a picture of it. Jake Jarecki, who was going to join us today and talk about the tilther, is probably off farming somewhere, but I lent it to him to see how it goes. So it's kind of it's all metal, super heavy duty. You'd have to really try hard to break it, but it's got a handle like a regular shovel or something. So I'm interested to see how that goes. So Melissa, thank you so much, and good luck with the gardening. So how many plots or gardens altogether do you manage?
I manage 4 right now, and then we've got an indoor hydroponic farmer at the North Market site. So yeah, I'll stay very busy. I'll hopefully eventually post my schedule. I always invite folks to come out or stop by if they're in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks
Tim
for
mentioned.
having me, Carl.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for being with us today. Tim says broad forks are great for digging carrots and potatoes, and I think they make some that are specifically for that. But absolutely, you stick it under your potatoes and you pull it back. If you never used one, you use your weight. You hop on it and you pull back, and then you come back a few inches. And again, this constant over tilling of the soil we got to get away from, and it actually makes more weeds happen sometimes than not. I mean, if you got a brand new city lot or some place that needs to be worked up, that's different perhaps, but just to get your garden rolling. And Katheryn says the tool library has one. So that's great. Yeah, they make different widths, and the ones she showed, and I took it someplace it was kind of rocky, and I bent it, I think, the first time I pulled it back. So they're already for established gardens, I would say. Tim, do you use them out at the Arb?
I do regularly. That's my main. If you take a bed out of production and you're switching crops, they're really great for creating that break and compaction without tilling the soil over. There's another one that I've been trying using. It's not as good at digging potatoes or anything, and I apologize to send a Home Depot link, but
That's
there's what's called Bully Tools, which is kind of a cheaper manufacturer, but it's $100, so it's half the price of the other ones. But
and I'm sorry, what is it?
Bully Tool. I don't know why it's maybe I can just send the name here, but
It's like a broad fork.
yeah, it has thinner tines, which makes it a little lighter to use, which is nice, but it doesn't. Yeah, it would rip up some carrots. So it's kind of it, but it is an easy bed prep step, so that you don't actually have to dig into the soil very much. You're just aerating it at down to the 12 or 14 inches that the tines go. So.
I posted a link to the fork stuff. I came across it. It's from New Zealand. The shipping was more than the tool, I think. So, but maybe we could Tim will have to bring that out once Jake is done with it. Jake, again, from Feed Me Farm, he helped us with an event in June, I believe it was. And he's got a church and a synagogue and couple other yards where he's growing vegetables. Yeah, there it is. And doing a great job. He's probably out farming, so forgot all about us. We were out sod cutting. He had rented one of those this is a church lawn that's been a lawn for as long as the church has been there. So he cutting the sod off, and he's just rolling them up and putting them on the side of the road out there in the suburbs, and free, and boom, they disappear because it's a lot of, they're heavy. And but that's the way to go with old sod like that. You don't want to be tilling sod. It's so much easier just to scrape that sod off. But that's a tool. I wanted to say greetings to Kali Graddick. He's down there in Georgia. I believe you're still down there in Georgia. Is that true, Kali? Maybe he's not.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Kali, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad.
You're still down in Georgia,
everybody?
right?
Yes.
So Kali works for MDA in the pesticide program, like kind of the non-ag pesticide part of it, like household pesticide sort of thing. But he's also a farmer hails from Georgia, part of the Southern Cooperative of Farmers down there. And Kali, hey, what are some of your favorite tools?
Actually, I was just looking there. It's for plastic mulch for weed control.
There you go.
So we have to do some acres. We have a 30-acre field, but we're only doing a couple acres this year.
Yeah.
To start out, but we got 30 acres that we got to do under irrigation, and so I was looking at a mulch layer, as well as a cedar that will plant in mulch and plastic mulch. And so we're going to be trying that this year. So once I try it, then I'll give a report back.
What are you growing on those acres?
Right now, we're looking at for the mulch and the plastic layer, we're looking at okra, bell peppers, cucumbers, and squash. Wow. But we're going to do peas and corn as well. And
I know Kali, I think he's trying to hatch some ideas of they can grow things longer than we can up here, and maybe we could do some exchange and help the small family farmers down there and ship produce up to Minnesota in, I don't know, January. That would be awesome.
I'm working with a new organization called the Charles Sherrod Community Development Corporation, and so we have a 1,600-acre farm. That's where Michael Cheney was a few weeks ago that we were taking pictures of. And so as we get our projects going, I'd love to do an exchange program and a webinar to talk about what we're doing here.
Oh,
that would be great.
That sounds great.
It's good seeing everybody. This was a good presentations.
Oh,
thanks. I liked all of that equipment.
Yeah, no, it's thank you. It's a great topic, something that interests me. But even if you're an acre is huge, but even in your backyard, I mean, good tools make a world of difference. It always reminds me of, with carpentry tools, with power tools, it doesn't matter quite as much that the blade is dull because you can just kind of grind through it. And the old timers were really picky about their chisels and their saws, because if you got a hand saw every piece of wood, it makes a huge difference if it's sharp or not. And they didn't want you to, don't be touching that, and don't put that file, with you hook a Briggs and Stratton on there, boom, you just kind of blast through it. But keeping your tools in good fettle, as we say, is really important. So speaking of exchange, on Thursday, then we're doing our second session, kind of a segue from the Growers Network, but we're starting a urban-rural exchange. Last week, we heard from, Appetite for Change, which is a nonprofit in North Minneapolis working on food security and food justice kinds of issues, and Prairie Drifter Farm, which is an organic vegetable farm down in Litchfield. Is that right? Yep. And this week, it's going to be Urban Ventures on Thursday and Round River Farm way up in Finland, Minnesota. Basic idea is that good people from around the state are working on sustainable food security, foodway kinds of things, but they don't necessarily know of each other or know how to work with each other. And urban folks, don't know how to navigate the rural and vice versa. And so we're just trying to start a discussion there and hopefully, again, like this network, be non-virtual, be real, and meet and greet and get together and see if we can't find some mutual beneficial projects. But you can go on the SFA website and check that out. Oh, I'm going to share. So I put the word out to some folks, and some folks at SFA, Sustainable Farming Association, got back to me. And one person said the humble repurposed 5-gallon plastic pail was their favorite. The ubiquitous 5-gallon pail. Carry stuff, water, seed, compost, tools, harvested produce. Turn it over and use it as a seat to rest a while in the garden. Get a lid and use it for seed storage. Use it as a planter for tomatoes, peppers. Cut off the bottom and use it to create microclimate for tomatoes. Stacks well when thoroughly dry, taking up little space. And if it's wet, if those things get stuck together, that could be a hassle. Pitchfork for spreading straw mulch, turning compost. This person likes a refractometer to measure bricks. It's a measure of nutrient density, sugars. A hand trowel for transplanting. 3-tined hand weeding fork. 2-wheel garden wood-sided cart. We use it almost daily until the snow is too deep to haul everything from firewood, soil, calves, pails, potatoes, squash. It's the one that they mean. It's 3-sided and it's like a little trailer that you pull by hand. And then finally, somebody said a 2-row hydraulic powered row weeder. This is for a bigger farm, obviously. Tractor mounted unit, 2 people sit on behind the tractor. That's the deals where you go like this around the weeds. We had it. The person said we're at 3-acre vegetable production. No longer use it.
This is Steve. One tool that we find real useful is a sod kicker. Last year, we had a homeowner wanted to put a little garden next to their sidewalk, between their sidewalk and the street. And we use the sod kicker to remove the grass on top, and it worked real well for them. And we've established some raised beds at a high rise right here in South Minneapolis. And we use the sod kicker to take away the grass where we put the raised beds. And it came in real handy.
Yeah, that's the non-powered version of what I was mentioning earlier, the sod cutter. Yeah, if you don't want to go rent it. And that's kind of a big, heavy machine, and I kind of screwed up my wrist, actually. But there's manual versions, especially for a smaller space. Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Katheryn says the tool library has a sod kicker. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't you think? I mean, you definitely want to take the sod away instead of trying to churn all that up. You're just asking for trouble, I think. You're not really killing anything. You're just making a bunch of little babies that are going to all grow.
Well, if I could hop in real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have anything tool related for this, but because we're, getting zoomed out and and we're in the cities here, I just wanted to shout out a couple of farm tours that we have coming up on the SFA side of things. So these are put on by our Crow River chapter of SFA, and it's pretty much like northwest or straight west of the Twin Cities. But we have 2 in-person farm tours where you can go meet the farmer, ask questions about tools, see how they're doing things. But there's one in the morning and one in the afternoon. First one's at Living Song Farm. If you know Jerry Ford, he's the garlic guy, basically. So he has garlic. I know he's got chickens up there, and he does some grass-fed beef. So you're going to get to see a lot of livestock up there. And then the afternoon tour is at Solar Fresh Produce. And Sarah's a one-woman show that does a CSA. So she would definitely, I think, be using some tools and things that might be more familiar to gardeners too, even though she's scaled up from a garden size. But these are both available. I'll drop a link in the chat, but pre-registration required, but it'll be a nice time to meet in person and have these kinds of discussions.
Well, thanks. And for those that aren't aware of SFA, it's a great organization. and they do a lot of great things. Check them out. And also, I just put on their MISA, the Minnesota Institute for Sustainable Ag, has a nice calendar. They don't have everything, but they have a lot of the kind of worlds that we're in. So check that out. All right, everybody. I think that's good to go. I think that's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you so much.